latest episode of the Newsreel. I'm your host, Zach Dennis, here with my co-host, Brian Welk, as we break down the Oscars. It's an Oscar recap. We did an Oscar preview. We're back with an Oscar recap. We're still kind of in limbo. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the program. But let's go ahead, Brian, and get into Oscar talk, because the Oscars happened last night. Green Book was the big winner for Best Picture. We'll probably go through a medley of the other awards. Alfonso Cuarón seemed to be just up there talking a lot. Like, he was winning a lot of different things, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But I think the first thing that I want to start with is you were at the Oscar press room covering it for The Wrap, and so I'm curious to hear your experience being behind the scenes for this ceremony, which I feel like everybody is familiar with but probably doesn't understand the behind the scenes work.
I was, and this was a lot of fun. The way it works is that after every winner is announced, shortly after that, the winners come back, and there's a big press room, and there's all these tables in a big conference room. Like, assume there's like 300 journalists there. Some of them are in a row of unassigned seats, and others have these strictly assigned tables that are all lined up, and you have some outlets and plugs and everything, and you just write, you're confined to one little spot, but then everyone comes back, and you can listen to them talk, and you can ask questions, and there's a whole orchestrated thing. They call numbers like it's an auction or something, and then you even if you want to still listen to the show, which a lot of people do, you can get headphones and a headset, and you get the real audio feed. So it's different from what's actually broadcasted. So whenever something's bleeped or something, or if there's anything that you can't normally see on TV, like, that was my job to fill in. So, for instance, one of the stories I wrote for The Wrap was when Spike Lee accepted his prize for BlacKkKlansman. He got bleeped just before he started speaking. He jumped up and hugged Samuel L. Jackson, and then he started talking, and he said, "Don't start that mother effing clock," as in, don't cut my time off. Don't start me. Don't, cut my mic. And I thought that was really funny, and that was a real fitting way to kick off. Was a really powerful speech that elicited the reaction of the president, and lovely. Just, I found that out at 5:30 this morning. I'm on camera.
You didn't have anything else to go.
I'm on camera for the Oscar recap with Cheddar. That was another thing I did for the first time ever on live TV. That was pretty neat. And they're like, "Oh, and the president tweeted about Spike Lee's speech," and I kind of like raised an eyebrow. Of course he did. But so that's the gist of it. And they have food, and there's a bunch of people there, and you all have to be dressed up, and they don't let you take pictures in there. They're very strict, and all the roads are closed, and you barely see the red carpet from where you are. I was not covering the red carpet itself, so I was able to get there relatively late. But if you are covering the carpet, then it's even more strict. You have to get there really, really early, and then you have to be in your spot in a tiny little narrow, no shoulder space, no arm, anything, for at 1 o'clock until about 4 o'clock, when the red carpet closes, or the whole time you have to be there, and then you could come back once the show starts and watch. But for the most part, there was a lot that I didn't actually get to see of the show. I did not get to experience, the Buster Scruggs song. I didn't hear that, or I didn't hear Jennifer Hudson's song, or a few of the other speeches here or there. I didn't get to hear all those because I was focused on the behind the scenes stuff. And even one of the other big things, like, Hannah Beachler and Ruth Carter, both the first African Americans to win in their categories, and for Black Panther, and they both came back. And they were able to elaborate in more detail about what it means to be the first person to win that prize. And that was another piece I wrote. And it was very touching, very inspiring. It's something you don't get to see on TV because they just don't have the time to do that.
Yeah. Well, I know it seemed like they were very quick. Spike Lee was smart to yell at them beforehand. They were very quick to run people off the stage. The only one I was laughing at was when the people who won for makeup and hairstyles for Vice, I swear they were just naming off just random names. It was like they were like improv names and were just saying like Susie Buckley, Garrett Hampson. Like they were just saying names and they finally played them
Garrett
off.
Hampson.
Yeah, it's just like
someone's paying attention to fantasy baseball right now.
Exactly.
I mean, that one was funny too because it was like, oh, we're going to be creative. We're all three of us are going to get the chance to read, and we're going to all. I imagine them having planned this, and then it just ended up very badly. But yeah, I mean, otherwise though, the show actually went pretty quick. It moved quickly. It was the shortest awards show in a long time. It was the shortest Oscars in a long time, and it didn't feel
one of the most
that
well
long.
watched, or one of the most highly watched.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it was like hugely, different or based on all the different changes and all the controversy. I mean, it was a bigger year because the movies were bigger. They actually nominated a lot of commercial things, and that's what ultimately kind of made the difference. And there wasn't one clear front runner either that is just going to run away with it the whole night. So there was genuine surprise and suspense, and you had a great performance in Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. I was just melting watching that. I did, kind of with all due respect to the people of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I was not paying attention for that one. Was watching Shallow.
I don't blame you. It was I think everybody was just sucked in.
Yeah, it was amazing. It's a shame that Kendrick Lamar didn't perform.
Yeah.
I know they were trying to get that to happen, and it just was a timing issue, and it didn't pan out, which is unfortunate. But he would have done something really special. Although I wonder if he wanted to do something too ambitious, and they just like, it's one of at the Grammys. They're like, yeah, sure, take all the time you want, bring out Dave Chappelle, do. But here it's like, stick to the script. Even though you're Kendrick Lamar, even though you're Lady Gaga, we got a show to do.
Yeah. Well, just kind of looking at the awards, it seems like for the most part, and I think you mentioned it earlier, for the most part, it seemed like it was going by the books. Like a lot of the stuff was following what a lot of people assumed, even that they may have picked something else. But for the most part, it was stuff that you were like, yeah, I could see that winning. That could, that makes sense to me. But was there any of the awards to you that was like, oh, wow, I can't believe this won this category?
Well, the first big surprise was Olivia Colman over Glenn Close. And people said that she could be a spoiler. She won the BAFTA over Close, but I mean, Close even won the Indie Spirit in a completely different field. And I was surprised that she won that one. I'm glad she won that one because you got to see her dog. That was fun. So that was the big surprise because it really felt like Glenn Close's year, even though we've talked about The Wife, that it's not a movie that a lot of people have seen, and it's maybe not even that good. But Close is good in it, and it's just that's a role though that I feel like a lot of people could have played, but only Olivia Colman could have done this, and only Lady Gaga or Melissa McCarthy or Yalitza. I mean, that was the thing. Like, when I was thinking about the actress, it's like, wow, we got denied that Glenn Close moment that we got at the Globes. But, it was really touching to see Olivia Colman up there. She gave one of the best speeches of the night. And I realized that any of the others, if they had won, would have also been an incredible moment. In a way, I couldn't say that with like, oh man, I really wish Viggo Mortensen would have gotten up there to talk. That would have been something. Or Christian Bale. Rami's was
more Bohemian Rhapsody people to go up there and not mention Bryan Singer. That was a nice drinking game.
Yeah,
he's gonna almost mention Bryan Singer.
Yeah, and he didn't mention him in the backstage either, and he vaguely alluded it. No one even asked him. No one even bothered, and he kind of vaguely teased like, I think let me even pull it up. He's like, I think just the hardships this movie has been through, and it's been a tough battle. I think you all know about it, and I think the fact that I'm celebrating with you, I think a lot can be overcome. Anything can happen. This was something close to what he had said, and it's like he didn't say it, but he kind of said, "Yeah, I get it," but I don't know. That's about as much. That's about as much of an answer you're gonna get from him on that one, and I mean, obviously this movie has gone through so many ups and downs in its production to begin with, but
yeah, that was one of the ones that immediately jumped out to me, was just the sheer, I mean, I'll just call it idiocy. The sheer idiocy that they awarded that movie Best Editing, because I think that movie was cobbled together by a third grader who was, jacked up on like every sort of candy imaginable, had like 5 Red Bulls, and had been stuck in class for 8 hours because it just looks so, how can you justify that going, this is the best edited movie of the entire year out of any other movie,
especially when you put it beside Roma or Black Klansman, and you could think of individual sequences in Black Klansman that, like that the editing and the alacrity of it and how quickly it moves, like near the end when the bombing is about to happen, and you've got the Black Power and White Power thing going, battling each other. Like that's something that deserves like a film editing award, and obviously enough can't be said about the technical achievement of Roma. But I mean, the best edited movie of the year is Minding the Gap, the documentary. But aside from that, anyway, I mean, when Bohemian Rhapsody won film editing, I thought to myself, it's going to win Best Picture. I thought that was a precursor, and it won the ACE award. It won the editing for that, but it didn't win the BAFTA. So it wasn't a surprise, but I thought things were going in Bo Rap's way. And what was neat about the whole Oscars is that we really didn't know what was going to happen until the final moment. Like literally every movie won it, every nominated film for Best Picture won at least one award. And that happened once. Olivia Colman won for The Favorite. Every single movie won one award. So in that moment when Best Picture was coming up, Julia Roberts could have said any movie, and it would have been a surprise. It would, and that reflected the whole season. The Guild Awards, we didn't get to talk about this obviously with the nominations, but the Guild Awards did not clear up anything about the race. They all went to different parties, to different films, which is the first time that's ever happened. Roma went to the DGA, Green Book went to the Producers Guild, Black Panther went to SAG, and then Can You Ever Forgive Me and Eighth Grade, which were of course not nominated, went to the Writers Guild. So no one had any idea what was actually going to happen when all was said and done. And it's the fact that they picked Green Book, the fact that they picked not even the safe choice, but the frustratingly backwards looking choice in many regards, the old fashioned movie that reminds you of Driving Miss Daisy and a lot of these movies that we've seen a million times and we thought we got past, and that they just feel embarrassing to have beside Black Klansman and Beale Street and Black Panther. It was really frustrating to see that movie come away with it. And I mean, it's worth noting that a lot of people do like this movie. A lot of people are charmed by it, and it's because
it's a giant hit in the 55 and older male community. It's a big hit.
Not just that. I mean, not just that. It is a movie that it hits all those beats. It hits those classical beats, but critics are sick of it, and people who are in the know are sick of it, and diverse groups of people, Black people, are sick of this kind of movie. And it's very obvious about how how it kind of panders to this white crowd. And I mean, the fact that Mahershala kind of came out unscathed and also won is a surprise. But
if you were just watching a lot of the looks and stuff by Mahershala, on the stage, a lot, you could see some. You could see him kind of feeling the vibe of, it's like he could feel us watching going, no, Mahershala, no, not this one. He
could feel, I mean,
he could feel it. You could
Hollywood
see.
is divided right now. It kind of is. It's like, this is the establishment sort of movie, and they pick that establishment group picked this movie over. I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, it is a movie that people like, and you could talk about the preferential ballot or whatever, but they didn't want to recognize a Spike Lee movie, didn't want to recognize a black and white foreign film, a Netflix movie, a superhero movie, a remake of A Star Is Born, like the fourth one. I mean, and they went with that safe crowd pleasing choice, and it's so frustrating. And you could tell that there's like a. I'll even say this from the behind the scenes. Green Book was the first group to come out after the show ended. So like a lot of the major winners did not come out until after the show ended. So we didn't get to see Alfonso, we didn't get to see Mahershala, we didn't get to see Rami or Gaga or any of these big ticket winners until after the show. But the first group to come out post show was the winners from Green Book, and you could just almost feel like the room was deflated. Like, we don't have the same questions for you as we would have for literally any other nominee or any other winner. But I could go on.
Now, the other thing, just kind of going back to Bohemian Rhapsody, is I swear it just and it was more indicative of what was happening, in the show, because it was immediately clear that people love Queen. From that show. The second thing was that people really like Queen. I'm just going to continue to emphasize that. Like, we got to the point when they had I think it was it Google? There was some commercial with Bohemian Rhapsody playing that I sent Cinematary, cohort Andrew Swafford a message saying, we're getting to the point where I almost don't want to ever listen to Queen ever again, because we've been inundated with so much Queen over the course of this show. It was obnoxious.
Just wait until you have to listen to Tiny Dancer and Rocket Man over and over and over again this time next year when Taron Egerton is the front runner to accept his Oscar.
I saw that, and I'm just like, that's gonna. I guess I'm gonna be done with Elton John next.
He's even stunting on Rami, because they showed a clip of, hey, our guy can actually sing. He's not lip syncing in this, and like, I mean, maybe Rami can sing too, but he just can't sing like Freddie Mercury can. But
no, he cannot. That's definitely true. As we kind of like look back at the show at large, and we've talked about it a little bit. I know you wrote a number of pieces kind of leading up to it about stuff like Roma and Netflix, as well as kind of what the win for Green Book would mean, and we've touched on that. But kind of going away from this show, what are some of the storylines that you feel like will carry over, kind of to be that will kind of resonate with the movie going public and the kind of the film industry, judging from this awards show? Because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that you could take away, winners and losers in this thing.
Well, I will touch on the show briefly in that there's a lot that's still unsettled. The fact that this movie won kind of put a pin in the whole controversy that has built up this entire award season. All the negative press. So there's still a possibility that we get that popcorn Oscar, that they're going to revise that popular movie award that they want to give out. It's possible that they end up moving certain awards to the Governor's Ball or to to the commercial breaks again, but they find a way to do it and not get people angry about it. They're still committed to getting the show under 3 hours. There's going to be new leadership changes in the Academy because John Bailey, the Academy president, is stepping down after this year. His term is up. So there's a lot of questions still on that front. And next year, you're going to have the same thing. If you don't have the same movies, and we still have a host question, all these things, nothing's settled, and we're gonna potentially have the same sort of controversies that we have every year with the Oscars, and that's why people keep kind of coming back to it, I guess. But in the broader sense, I think diversity did win out in a lot of different ways, and the right movies won, and a lot of women and people of color won their first ever Oscars and kind of crossed that barrier, and you're gonna see more movies like Black Panther that are gonna be that statement sort of blockbuster that deserves to be recognized, and I hope it shows that blockbusters, like commercial movies, can also be the Oscar winners as well. I mean,
and to that point, one of the things I was thinking about while watching the ceremony was, I mean, any of the awards going to Black Panther were also the first Oscars going to Marvel,
right?
Which, I mean, Marvel has been, we've talked about it numerous times, such a kind of, it's what people are aspiring to in the industry at this point, where they want to have that model that they have with their movies, and so that it took so long for them to start racking up Oscars is kind of crazy. I don't maybe this is a silly question to ask, but do you feel like the fact that Black Panther made such a cultural impact, not only at the box office it made a ton of money, but also it really was this pop culture sensation, and then it went and won a number of awards, do you think that kind of repositions how Marvel thinks of their plan moving forward, going, hey, we can make movies that hit our monetary goals, but also are playing for award season as well?
Well, they're already there. I mean, Captain Marvel, they're already forward thinking in terms of the directors that they're putting behind the scenes, but they still have that overall vision. So no, it's not changing their plans, and that they have this overarching phase 4, phase 5, I think we're on phase 4 now, and we're going to get to phase 5. But you look at the people who are behind the camera for some of these, you have the first female director for Captain Marvel, and then you have Chloe Zhao, who directed The Rider, doing a movie. Ryan Coogler is going to come back for Black Panther 2. I mean, he's only going to step it up. I'm positive of that. And so there's that sense. I mean, the other bigger thing is Netflix, because that was the big elephant in the room. They spent at least $25 million on their Oscar campaign. Now, that includes launching the movie at festivals and, pushing it out there to get, subscribers aware of it. But it really became like a flagship thing, and they wanted that Best Picture win so bad. And we talked to someone in our piece who said that if Netflix doesn't win this time, they're never going to win. If they didn't win with Roma, a movie that with any other studio would be like a total front runner, would be knock it out of the park, all timer, like one in a decade movie. And if they can't win because there's that much animosity and like pushback against Netflix and against how they kind of handle the industry, it is hard to imagine how they're going to operate moving forward. Or are they going to do this again with The Irishman, or if that proves to be a potential player? Are they going to do this again with some other movie?
They're going to realize that you can only win is if you have a white man teaching a black guy about the truths of life.
I'm sure they're going to have no shortage of all the diversity. The Kissing Booth 2 is going to be their big Oscar play.
Between that, or they're going to be like, well, let's just jump into the musical biopic game and just find some random band that we can make a biopic about.
Dude, Motley Crue, The Dirt, next month. That's the one. That movie looks ridiculous. It's got Pete Davidson, Machine Gun Kelly as Tommy Lee, Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones is Mick Mars. Nikki Sixx is I forget who's playing him. That movie, and it's directed by the guy who's directed all the Jackass movies. That movie could be bananas. But
well, I look forward to that. Sweeping, but competing with Taron Egerton's Elton John movie for sure.
As we know, biopics have absolutely dominated the best actor category. I wrote a bigger thing, and I don't need to go into it, but this is the fifth time that 4 of the 5 nominees in the best actor category have been from biopics. And this has happened 5 times in 15 years. And the biopic, it's never been the odd man out. It's never been the original character, that has won. And it's 7 of the last 9 winners have been from biopics, which is insane. It's insane. So, and yeah, the fact that music biopics seem to click, or at least this one did. I don't know. Like you said, people love Queen.
People love that was like they kicked off the show with guess how much people love Queen.
That was a good bet on the Academy's part to book Queen and have a legitimate opening to the show in that regard. It was a good show. It was a pretty good show, and it just
what were your feelings about the lack of a host? Because personally, I felt like it moved along very quickly.
It really did.
It was very smooth.
I mean, I wish we saw more of Tina Fey and Amy Poehler and Maya Rudolph. Like that would have been totally fine. And they kind of summed it up quickly. All the happy jokes they would have told. And they were great. They're so perceptive. They're so smart. But yeah, it absolutely did move along quickly that you didn't have to go back to that host time and again. So who knows? Maybe they will rethink a host in the future that but I don't know. If they don't have the movies, they can advertise it to say, hey, Queen and Lady Gaga are performing. If you don't have those movies next year, if Elton John says, I'm not performing at the Oscars, then what are you going to do? But of course, Elton John is going to perform at the Oscars.
That's true. Any last thoughts before we kind of wrap up? I do want to give a big shout out. I was a little worried, but I was super, super, super happy that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse won Best Animated Feature. I was worried that one of the stupid Disney movies was going to win, but I'm really glad that one ended up taking Best Animated Feature. That was really I'm glad this happened, as well as Regina King winning for If Beale Street Could Talk.
Yes, that was a kind of early pleasant surprise because it wasn't a certainty since she wasn't even nominated for the SAG award. So that's a plus. No, I don't really think so. I mean, maybe Shallow, that it's just like as good as it was and that it actually won in a year when it was inevitable, but you never know. You never know with these things. So I'm glad it did. Yeah.
Well, some quick housekeeping before we wrap up on the Newsreel podcast. We've been on hiatus for a little while. This one, of course, if you're listening to it, is on the Cinematary feed. But we will be back doing our own feed, doing our own thing shortly. We have some plans. We're going to be kind of mixing around with the format a little bit. I think we're kind of figuring out what we want to do there. So it's one of those things also, if you're a longtime listener, if you feel like you have some ideas on how we could kind of tweak things, we're not looking to go and revamp revamp everything. It's kind of we're taking the soft reboot approach to this in blockbuster terms, but we want to come back. We want to kind of restructure it a little bit in order to streamline and make it the best it can be. But I think for those who've been asking, we will be back, and should be good, smooth sailing. We got so many Disney reboot, remakes, whatevers to talk about. There's so many of them. We have to be there talking. That Lion King trailer was stupid. That's my take. It was stupid.
Nope.
Stupid.
Make $1 billion. Easy.
It's just
standing on its head.
Just a fart in the ocean. That's what it is. Stupid. But yeah, Brian, do you have anything to add on the future of the podcast for those who are curious?
I think I'm excited for what we have going forward, or I hope we can kind of make this interesting and keep doing what we've been doing, because it's been a couple months that we've been on hiatus, and I've missed it. So I look forward to kind of talking with cool people again, and I hope you enjoy listening to that, and I hope that we can get to the aspects of the show that the people who do listen to this enjoy the most. So please keep listening and send us feedback. Let us know what you think of the show. Send us some notes if you'd like. Kind of the one thing, just to kind of give you an idea of what to ask us about, is we're trying to figure out time constraints. So do you want more top stories? Do you want less top stories? Do you want more of a main story? What are the features of the show that you kind of want us to focus on more? We're figuring out how to really be economical with the time and focus on what people are looking for out of the program. So let us know. But until then, thank you guys for listening. If you're coming to this feed, I'm going to do a little plug for Cinematary. It's here. We're doing cool stuff. We got a lot of cool people working on this site. Check out our latest episodes. We're in the midst of a Pam Grier retrospective. We just had Mia Mask from Vassar College talking about coffee and Foxy Brown. But be checking that out. We have some good stuff on our website. But Newsreel is going to be coming back, so we will see you then. Thanks for listening.